Why are you always in the same clothes? The 7-year-old froze. Then his hands started shaking. Then he pulled up his sleeve and showed her fingerprint bruises covering his arm. Ms. Torres stopped breathing. 52 days she'd photographed that faded blue t-shirt. 52 days she'd watched this child disappear. Now she understood why. Lucas Bennett wasn't poor. He was being starved by foster parents collecting $200 monthly while locking 3 children in an attic. 90 minutes later, 103 Hells Angels surrounded his elementary school. What they uncovered would expose 2 dead children, $641,000 in fraud, and a system that failed 14 kids. This is Lucas's story. Subscribe now and comment your city. Let's see how far this story travels. Please don't make me go back. Those 6 words whispered by a child who'd learned that speaking up only made things worse cut through Rebecca Torres like a blade through paper. It was 3:47 p.m. on May 14th, 2025. Room 108 at Willow Creek Elementary sat empty except for the 2 of them, teacher and student, the only person who'd noticed, and the kid who'd stopped hoping anyone would. Lucas stared at his desk, pulling his sleeves down over his hands the way he always did. A habit Ms. Torres had documented 41 times in the past 2 months. She'd been watching, counting, recording. Because teachers know the difference between a struggling student and a child in crisis. And Lucas Bennett had crossed that line sometime back in February. She positioned herself between him and the classroom door, not physically imposing at 5'4", but her body language was clear. Nobody takes this child without going through me. Lucas, she said gently, kneeling beside his desk, so she could meet his eyes. You're not in trouble. I just need you to trust me. Can you show me why you always wear long sleeves even when it's hot outside? The boy's eyes filled with tears. He glanced toward the door, checking if anyone was there, then slowly, carefully pulled up his left sleeve. Ms. Torres kept her face calm, professional. But inside, her heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. Bruises, purple ones, yellow ones, green ones, fingerprint-shaped marks from being grabbed hard, multiple bruises at different stages of healing, which meant this wasn't one incident. This was a pattern. Sweetheart, she said, voice steady, even as rage built in her chest. Who did this to you? I fell, Lucas whispered. The lie children learn when the truth is too dangerous. I'm clumsy. Lucas, those are finger marks. Someone grabbed you. Who? His tears spilled over. Please don't call them. Please. If you call, they'll know I told. It'll be worse. Please, Ms. Torres. Please. She reached out slowly, letting him see her hand coming, and gently touched his shoulder. I need you to be honest with me. Are you safe at home? Long pause, then barely audible. No, ma'am. Are Emma and Noah safe? The 2 younger ones, his foster siblings, ages 5 and 4. No, we're all scared. Every day. Ms. Torres felt her hands trembling. 28 years of teaching, hundreds of children. She'd seen neglect before. She'd seen poverty and struggle and parents doing their best with nothing. But this was different. This was calculated cruelty hiding behind a Sunday smile. How long, Lucas? How long have they been hurting you since we got there? 7 months. But it got worse after Christmas. That's when they started locking the door. What door, sweetheart? The attic door. That's where we sleep. Me and Emma and Noah. They lock it at night so we can't come down. Sometimes they forget to unlock it in the morning and we miss the bus. Then Patricia gets mad because she has to drive us. Ms. Torres closed her eyes for a moment. Breathed. Steadied herself. Lucas, I'm going to make a phone call. Not to your foster parents, to someone who can help. Someone I trust completely. Okay. He looked at her with eyes far too old for 7 years. Will they believe me? Everyone else believes Patricia and Raymond. They go to church. They smile. They bring cookies to the school office. Nobody ever believes the foster kids. I believe you, Lucas. Every single word. She pulled out her phone and dialed the number she never thought she'd need to use. It rang twice. Becca Marcus Torres's voice was sharp alert. You okay? No, Marcus. I'm at school. I need you here. Now. What's wrong? I've got a 7-year-old student who just showed me fingerprint bruises on his arms. He's a foster kid. Been with his foster parents 7 months. Marcus, he's malnourished. He's wearing the same clothes for 52 days straight. He falls asleep in class from hunger. He sleeps locked in an attic with 2 other foster kids. The foster parents are collecting over $11,000 a month and spending maybe $14 a day on all 3 children. She heard her brother's sharp intake of breath. Jesus Christ, Becca. Where's the kid now in my classroom? I'm not letting him go back to that house. But I need backup. His caseworker will call the foster parents the second I file a report. I need people who will actually protect him. I'm 20 minutes out. Marcus's voice shifted into something harder. Something she recognized from when he came back from his 3rd tour. And Becca, I'm calling Shepard. This is Code Fallen Youth. How many kids in that house? 3. Lucas is 7. 2 others. Emma 5. Noah 4. Siblings. All 3 need rescue. Then we pull all 3. Every single one. Stay with that boy. Don't let him out of your sight. I'll be there in 15. The line went dead. Ms. Torres turned back to Lucas, who was watching her with wide, exhausted eyes. Hands still shaking. Tears still falling. Sweetheart, my brother is coming. He's going to help. So are a lot of his friends. Friends. Lucas's voice was small, scared. Bikers. Men who ride motorcycles. And I know that might sound scary, but I promise you these men protect children, especially children the system has failed. Will they believe me? The question broke her heart all over again. Lucas. I've been counting. 52 days you've worn that same shirt. 52 days I've watched you fall asleep in class because you're too hungry to stay awake. 52 days I've seen you flinch when anyone raises their voice. I documented everything. Photos, notes, dates, times. Because I knew something was wrong, and I knew nobody would believe me unless I had proof. She pulled out her phone, showed him the folder. Photo after photo. The same faded blue t-shirt. Different dates. I believe you because I've been watching. And now my brother is coming. And when Marcus Torres shows up with 100 of his friends, everyone is going to believe you too. Lucas stared at the photos. At the evidence of someone paying attention. Someone counting. You took pictures of me every day. Because you matter, Lucas. Because what happens to you matters. Because someone needed to see. He broke down then. Really broke down. 7 years old, sobbing into his hands, releasing 7 months of terror and loneliness and the crushing weight of being invisible. Ms. Torres held him. Let him cry. Let him fall apart in the safety of her arms. Because sometimes falling apart is the first step toward being put back together. 12 minutes later, the rumble started. Low at first. Distant. Like thunder rolling in from the horizon. Lucas's head lifted from Ms. Torres's shoulder. What's that sound? That's hope on 2 wheels, sweetheart. The rumble grew into a roar. Not 1 motorcycle, not 5, dozens. The sound of engines, synchronized, powerful, deliberate. It shook the windows of room 108. Lucas walked to the window, limping slightly on legs weak from malnutrition, and looked down at the parking lot. His jaw dropped. Motorcycles. Rows of them. Chrome gleaming in the afternoon sun. Leather-clad riders dismounting in coordinated precision. 10 bikes became 20. 20 became 40. They kept coming. How many, Lucas whispered. I don't know yet. But Marcus said every brother within 50 miles. The classroom door opened. Marcus Ghost Torres walked in first. 6 feet tall, built like someone who'd spent 15 years staying mission-ready even after leaving the Marines. His leather vest bore patches. Hell's Angels rocker. Portland chapter. Military service ribbon. His eyes, the same dark brown as his sister's, landed on Lucas with immediate understanding. Behind him stood a man who made Ghost look young. William Shepard Garrett was 61 years old. Gray-bearded. Weathered face marked by decades of road and grief that never quite faded. He wore the president patch. His blue eyes were sharp. Assessing. But when they landed on Lucas, something in them softened. Ms. Torres. Shepard's voice was quiet, but commanding. Your brother tells me we've got 3 kids locked in an attic, 2 foster parents collecting 11 grand a month, and a system that's already failed them 5 separate times. That's correct, Mr. Garrett. Call me Shepard. Everyone does. He turned to Lucas, and his expression changed. Gentled. Son, I'm going to ask you some questions. Hard questions. But you don't have to be scared of me, okay? I know I look like something out of a scary movie. The corner of his mouth lifted slightly. But my wife always said God made me this big so kids would know they're safe when I show up. You believe that? Lucas nodded slowly. Cautiously. Shepard pulled a chair over, carefully moving slowly so he wouldn't startle the boy, and sat down. At seated height, he was closer to Lucas's eye level. How old are you, son? 7. 7. First grade. Shepard nodded. You know what I was doing when I was 7? I was learning to fish with my daddy in Georgia. Caught my first bass that summer. Thought I was the king of the world. He paused. I also had a son once, Tommy. He was 6 when I lost him. 23 years ago now. Foster care system placed him with a family that passed every background check. Looked perfect on paper. His jaw tightened. By the time anyone realized they were hurting him, it was too late. Lucas stared at Shepard. Your son died. Yes, son. Because the system failed him. Because people who were supposed to protect him chose to look the other way. Because caseworkers believed lies told by adults over truth told by a scared little boy. Shepard's voice remained steady. But here's what I learned. Sometimes the system is broken. Sometimes the cavalry doesn't come from social workers or police or courts. Sometimes it comes from people society tells you to fear. He stood, placed one weathered hand on Lucas's shoulder. We're showing up for you. For Emma. For Noah. And Patricia and Raymond Crane are about to learn that hurting children has consequences. The school nurse arrived 4 minutes later. Linda Chen was 58 years old. Gray-haired, kind-faced, precise. She'd spent 30 years documenting children's injuries, enough to know the difference between playground accidents and intentional harm. She photographed Lucas's arms from multiple angles, close-ups of each bruise, measured them with a small ruler noting the width and spacing of the fingerprint marks. She wrote in her documentation log with clinical precision. 6 distinct bruises on left forearm, purple coloring indicating recent injury, estimated 2 to 4 days old. 4 bruises on right forearm showing yellow and green coloring, estimated 7 to 14 days old. Pattern consistent with being grabbed forcefully by adult hand. Multiple injuries at various healing stages indicate repeated incidents over time. She examined his hands, his neck, checked his scalp, asked gentle questions about whether anything else hurt. When she reached his weight, she paused. "Lucas, sweetie, when was the last time you had a full meal?" He thought about it. Like at school, number anywhere. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. A real meal where you ate until you were full. "I don't remember." Linda's hands shook slightly as she wrote. Weight 38 pounds, severely underweight for age 7. Expected range 48 to 55 pounds. Signs of chronic malnutrition evident. She looked at Ms. Torres. "This child is 15 pounds underweight. That's not missing a few meals. That's systematic starvation." "I know. How long have you been documenting 52 days? "Since I first noticed the pattern." Linda nodded slowly. "This is medical evidence. When CPS arrives, give them everything. It's not hearsay. It's not subjective observation. It's documented proof that this child has been deliberately harmed." She turned to Shepard. "You're the motorcycle club president." "Yes, ma'am." "Good. Because CPS already failed this child twice. They went to that house 3 weeks ago and walked away saying everything was fine. So whatever you're planning, make sure these kids don't go back there." "Ma'am," Shepard said quietly. "I promise you, those foster parents will never touch these children again." Another man appeared in the doorway. Mid-50s, stocky build, wire rim glasses that made him look more like an accountant than a biker, which was exactly what he'd been for 22 years. "Shepard, we've got 41 brothers outside. Seattle's sending 24. San Francisco's got 19 en route. We'll have full presence within the hour." He glanced at Lucas. Then Ms. Torres, Frank Morrison. Road name's Ledger. I used to work for the FBI hunting financial fraud. Your brother tells me there's about 700,000 in missing foster care funds we need to track." Ms. Torres blinked. Yes. The math doesn't add up. 11,000 a month for 5 years, but these kids have nothing." Ledger pulled out a small notebook. "I'll need their names, birth dates, placement dates. I can pull foster care payment records through contacts I still have." He looked at Shepard. "If these foster parents are running a profit scheme, I'll find the paper trail. And once we have documentation, we've got them on fraud charges in addition to neglect." Ghost stepped forward. "Ledger, how fast can you work? Give me 2 hours. I'll have their complete financial history." A younger man, maybe 43, stepped in behind Ledger. Dark hair, sharp eyes, phone in hand. "Carlos Vega. They call me Lens. I handle media strategy. With your permission, Ms. Torres, I'd like to document this operation. Not for glory, for evidence, and to make damn sure Patricia and Raymond Crane can't control the narrative when this goes public." "Lens." Shepard's voice carried authority. "Check with the principal. We need school cooperation, not conflict. We're not storming this place. We're supporting a mandatory reporter who followed the law." Lens disappeared down the hallway. Ms. Torres looked at her brother. "Marcus, how did you mobilize this many people this fast?" Ghost's expression was grim. "Code Fallen Youth. Shepard implemented it after—" He glanced at Shepard, who gave a slight nod. "After Shepard lost Tommy. When that code goes out, every brother drops what they're doing. Jobs, errands, family dinners. Doesn't matter. A child in danger overrides everything." Lucas had been quiet, watching, processing. Now he spoke. Small voice, huge question. "What about Emma and Noah?" "They're still at the house. Patricia picks them up from daycare at 5. If she finds out..." Shepard knelt down to Lucas's level. Son, how does Patricia treat Emma and Noah? The same as me. Sometimes worse because they're smaller. Noah doesn't talk anymore. He used to talk a lot. Now he just doesn't. And Emma has trouble breathing sometimes. She needs medicine, but Patricia says medicine is expensive and kids don't need it unless they're dying. Shepard's jaw tightened. Ghost's fists clenched. Does Patricia hit them too? Lucas nodded. When they cry. When they ask for food. When they wet the bed because they're scared. She hits them and tells them nobody wants broken children. She says if we tell anyone they'll separate us and we'll never see each other again. His voice cracked. I try to protect them. I give them my food when I can. I hold them at night when they're scared. But I'm only 7. I can't make it stop. I can't make her stop. Tears streamed down his face. I just want her to stop. Shepard pulled Lucas into a gentle hug. Careful. Slow. Letting the boy choose to accept it. You've been protecting your brother and sister for 7 months, Lucas. You've been the strongest person in that house. But you shouldn't have had to be. You're 7 years old. It's not your job to protect anyone. He pulled back. Looked Lucas in the eyes. Now it's our turn. We're going to get Emma and Noah. We're going to get all 3 of you somewhere safe. And Patricia and Raymond Crane are never going to hurt any of you again. Promise. On my son's memory. I promise. Principal David Anderson appeared in the doorway looking pale, sweating. Ms. Torres, there are over 100 motorcycles outside my school. Yes, Mr. Anderson, those are my brother's friends. They're here to ensure Lucas's safety while we wait for CPS. This is highly irregular. The optics. So is a child being starved and beaten in a licensed foster home while everyone looks the other way. Ms. Torres's voice was steel. I filed a mandatory report. I have medical documentation, I have witness testimony, and I have 100 men who refuse to let this child go back to his abusers while we wait for a system that already failed him 5 times to maybe show up in 24 hours. Shepard stepped forward, extended his hand. Principal Anderson, William Garrett. I apologize for the dramatic presence. We're not here to cause problems. We're here to support Ms. Torres in following the law. She's a mandatory reporter who discovered evidence of child abuse. We're simply ensuring the victim remained safe during the investigation process. Anderson reluctantly shook his hand. The media is already asking questions. The superintendent called. Parents are calling. This is... Ghost interrupted. The optics of this are that your school finally protected a kid who's been failing in plain sight for 7 months. The optics are that a teacher cared enough to count 52 days. The optics are that when the system moved too slow, a community showed up fast. He stepped closer to Anderson. You can be the principal who protected a child, or the principal who worried about parking lot appearances while a 7-year-old went back to his abusers. Your choice. Anderson looked between Ghost Shepard and Ms. Torres, then at Lucas, still standing by the window, thin and exhausted, and hopeful for the first time in months. Fine. The child stays here until proper authorities arrive. But I want documentation that your club isn't interfering with school operations. Done. Shepard pulled out his phone. Typed something. Showed Anderson. Legal cooperation statement. Peaceful witnesses supporting a mandatory reporter. Not interfering. Not threatening. Just present. Anderson read it. Nodded stiffly. Left. Ms. Torres exhaled. Thank you. He came around. Shepard smiled slightly. Most people do when they realize we're not the villains in this story. By 5:00 p.m., 103 motorcycles lined the parking lot. Lucas stood at the window, Ms. Torres beside him, watching as more bikes arrived. Seattle. Chapter: San Francisco. Sacramento. Brothers from 4 different cities converging on Willow Creek Elementary because one teacher had called her brother and one brother had activated a code. "There's so many," Lucas whispered. 103. Ghost stood behind him. "Every single one of them is here for you. But they don't even know me. They know what matters. They know a kid needs help. They know the system failed. And they know what it's like to feel alone when you're supposed to be protected." Ghost knelt beside Lucas. "I was in the Marines. Did your teacher tell you that?" Lucas shook his head. 3 tours. Saw a lot of bad things. Did a lot of hard things. But the hardest thing I ever learned was that sometimes the good guys don't wear uniforms. Sometimes they wear leather. Sometimes they look scary. Sometimes they're the people everyone else is afraid of." He put his hand on Lucas's shoulder. "But here's what I know for sure. Every man in that parking lot would step in front of a bullet for you right now. Not because they know you. Because you're a kid. Because you're hurting. Because helping you is the right thing to do." Lucas looked at Ghost. Then out at the motorcycles. Then back at Ghost. "My foster parents said bikers are dangerous. That they hurt people. Some do." Ghost was honest. "But these men protect people, especially children. That's what we do. That's who we are." Why? Because a lot of us know what it feels like to be the kid nobody helped. And we decided that when we grew up, we'd be the help that never came for us. Lucas was quiet for a long moment. Then softly, "I want to be like that when I grow up. Someone who helps." Ghost smiled. "Kid, you already are. You've been protecting Emma and Noah for 7 months. That's more courage than most adults have in a lifetime." Another man entered. Older, early 60s, moving with the careful precision of someone who'd seen combat. He wore a medical patch on his vest. "Henry Reyes. They call me Doc. Combat medic. Afghanistan. Been carrying a med kit for 40 years. He looked at Lucas. "Son, when was the last time you saw a doctor? September. School health check. And you're thin, bruised, exhausted. Your foster parents take you to doctors. No, sir. Patricia says doctors are expensive and kids don't need them unless they're dying." Doc's jaw tightened. "Right. Medical neglect on top of everything else." He looked at Shepard. "When we get these kids out, I'm doing full health assessments on all 3. Document everything. This isn't just neglect. This is systematic endangerment." A younger man, maybe 47, appeared with 3 backpacks. Tall, lean, scholarly looking despite the leather vest. He wore a teacher patch. Daniel Kim. Used to teach elementary school before budget cuts. Still volunteer with literacy programs. He held up the backpacks. Emergency kits. Change of clothes. Snacks. Water. Small toys. Toothbrush. Blanket. Figured they might need comfort items. Ms. Torres's eyes stung with tears. "You came prepared. Code Fallen Youth means we plan for child rescue operations. We've got protocols." Scholar knelt beside Lucas. "Hey, buddy. You hungry?" Lucas nodded, eyes fixed on the backpack. Scholar unzipped it, pulled out a granola bar. "Apple slices. Juice box. Start with this. Not too much too fast if you haven't been eating regular." Lucas took the food with shaking hands, opened the granola bar like it was treasure, ate slowly, carefully, like he was afraid someone would take it away. Every adult in that room watched a 7-year-old boy eat a granola bar like it was the first meal he'd had in days, because it probably was. Can I save some?" Lucas asked. "For Emma and Noah. They're probably hungry too." Scholar's voice caught. "Buddy, we're going to get Emma and Noah. And when we do, they're going to have all the food they want. I promise. You promise, I promise." Ghost's phone buzzed. He looked at it. His expression darkened. "Shepard, CPS just called the Cranes to inform them of the investigation. What Ms. Torres's voice was sharp. They were supposed to wait standard protocol, notify foster parents of pending welfare check. Shepard swore under his breath. How long before the Cranes know something's wrong? Ghost checked his phone again. Patricia's picking up Emma and Noah from daycare in 20 minutes. If she gets spooked, she could run. Then we need people at that daycare. Now. Already done. Shepard pulled out his phone, sent a text. 8 brothers are en route to Sunshine Kids Daycare. Peaceful presence. Legal. Visible. If Patricia tries to take those kids and disappear, she'll have witnesses. Ms. Torres looked at Lucas. Sweetheart, we need to talk to the police. Tell them everything you told me. Can you do that? Lucas's face went pale. The police came before. They believed Patricia. She showed them our fake bedrooms with the nice blankets. She made us smile and say everything was fine. They left. Then she hit us for making her lie. This time is different, Lucas. How? Because this time I have 52 days of photographs. The nurse has medical documentation. And there are 103 witnesses who aren't going anywhere. She knelt down, met his eyes. This time the truth has backup. Lucas looked at the window, at the motorcycles, at the men who'd shown up for a child they'd never met. Okay, he said quietly. I'll tell them everything. Good boy. But Ms. Torres. Yes, sweetheart. Will you stay with me when I talk to them? Please don't leave me alone. She pulled him into a hug. I'm not going anywhere, Lucas. Not now. Not ever. You understand me? He nodded against her shoulder. I understand. At 5:23 p.m., Detective Sarah Kim arrived. Portland Police, Child Welfare Division, 36 years old, sharp, professional. She walked into room 108 expecting a standard welfare investigation. What she found instead was 103 motorcycles in the parking lot, a teacher with 52 days of documentation, a school nurse with medical evidence, and a Hells Angels president who greeted her with calm professionalism. Detective Kim. Shepard extended his hand. William Garrett. I'm here as a community witness supporting Ms. Torres's mandatory report. Sarah looked around the room at the bikers, at the documentation spread across Ms. Torres's desk, at Lucas sitting in the corner eating his second granola bar. This is unusual, she said carefully. So is a child being failed by the system 5 times in 7 months. Ms. Torres handed her the medical report. Nurse Chen documented his injuries. Fingerprint pattern bruising at multiple healing stages. Severe malnutrition. 15 pounds underweight for his age. She paused. And before you ask, yes, this is the same house you investigated 3 weeks ago. The same house that was cleared because the foster parents showed you staged bedrooms and coached children. Detective Kim's face tightened. She opened her tablet, pulled up a file. The Crane residence. We received a neighbor complaint, April 22nd. Investigator conducted a home visit, April 25th. Found adequate conditions. Case closed. Adequate conditions, Ghost repeated flatly. Did that investigator interview the children privately, or were the foster parents present? Kim hesitated. The report indicates foster parents were present during child interviews, which is standard protocol. Standard protocol that allows abusers to intimidate victims into silence. Shepard's voice remained calm, but firm. Detective Kim. I'm not here to make your job harder. I'm here to make sure you have everything you need to do it right. We have medical documentation. We have financial evidence of fraud. We have witness testimony. He looked at Lucas. And we have 3 children who need emergency removal tonight. Kim looked at Lucas. at his thin frame, his bruised arms, the way he clutched a half-eaten granola bar like someone might take it away. She'd seen enough abused kids to recognize one. "Tell me everything," she said quietly, from the beginning. Lucas told his story. He told it to Detective Kim while Ms. Torres held his hand, while Ghost stood guard at the door, while Shepard watched with eyes that held 23 years of grief and fury. He told them about the attic. 3 mattresses on the floor, 1 bare bulb, a bucket in the corner because they weren't allowed to use the bathroom at night, a lock on the outside of the door. He told them about the hunger, 1 small meal a day if they were lucky, sometimes just bread, sometimes nothing at all. Patricia said children who couldn't earn their food didn't deserve to eat. He told them about the bruises. Raymond grabbed them when they were too slow. Patricia hit them when they cried, when they asked for food, when they wet the bed because they were too scared to sleep. He told them about Emma's breathing problems. She needed medicine. Had needed it for months. Patricia threw away the prescription because medicine was expensive, and kids don't need it unless they're dying. He told them about Noah, how he used to talk all the time, how he stopped talking 3 months ago, how he just stares now, quiet, empty, like he went somewhere inside his head and hasn't come back. He told them about the fake bedrooms, the nice blankets Patricia kept in a closet, the stuffed animals she put out when visitors came, the script she made them memorize. If anyone asks, you love it here. If anyone asks, we're the best family you've ever had. If you tell the truth, they'll separate you and you'll never see each other again. He told them about the fear. Constant. Crushing. 7 months of waking up every day knowing it would hurt. Knowing nobody would help. Knowing he was invisible. And then he told them about Ms. Torres. She noticed Lucas said tears streaming down his face. Everyone else looked at me and saw nothing. But she saw. She counted. 52 days she watched me wearing the same shirt. 52 days she wrote things down. 52 days she waited until she had proof. He looked at his teacher. Nobody ever counted for me before. Detective Kim closed her tablet. Her face was pale. Her hands were shaking. "I'm authorizing emergency removal," she said quietly. "All 3 children. Effective immediately." She looked at Shepard. "The Cranes are about to have a very bad evening." Lucas looked out the window one more time. 103 motorcycles. 103 men who'd dropped everything to show up for 3 children they'd never met. Ms. Torres. Yes, sweetheart. Why did they come? They don't know me. They don't know Emma or Noah. Why do they care? Ms. Torres knelt beside him. Because some people believe that protecting children is the most important thing in the world. Because some people have been where you are, and they remember what it felt like to be alone. Because your story reached 103 hearts today, and every single one of those hearts said the same thing. What did they say? Not on my watch. Lucas was quiet for a long moment. Then softly, I want to remember this. Forever. I want to remember what it looks like when people show up. You will, sweetheart. I promise you will. Outside, the rumble of engines continued. Men in leather stood in formation. Silent. Present. Witness to something most of the world would never understand. A brotherhood showing up for a broken child, a teacher who refused to stop counting, and a 7-year-old boy learning for the first time in his life that he wasn't invisible. Not anymore. Ghost's phone buzzed again. He read the message, and his face went hard. Patricia just picked up Emma and Noah from daycare. She's heading home. How long? Shepard asked. 15 minutes, maybe less. Detective Kim grabbed her radio. I need units at 2847 Cedar Valley Lane. Emergency welfare check. 3 children. Foster parents, maybe flight risk. Ghost was already moving. We've got 8 brothers tailing her vehicle. She's not disappearing. Ms. Torres held Lucas's hand tighter. Sweetheart, we need to go now. We need to get your brother and sister. Lucas's whole body tensed. Patricia will know. She'll know I told. She'll hurt them before you can stop her. Not this time. Shepard's voice was granite. This time she's got 100 witnesses watching every move she makes. They moved fast. Detective Kim led the way. Ghost flanked Lucas on one side, Ms. Torres on the other. Shepard walked behind them like a wall of protection. In the parking lot, 103 bikers stood at attention, silent, waiting. Shepard raised his hand. We ride. The engines roared to life. 103 motorcycles, 1 police vehicle, 1 teacher's Honda Civic with a 7-year-old boy who'd finally found his voice. They moved through Portland like a wave. Cars pulled over. People stopped on sidewalks and stared. Some pulled out phones to record. Others just watched in disbelief. Lucas pressed his face to the window. They're all coming. Every single one. Ghost kept his eyes on the road. For you. For Emma. For Noah. What if Patricia runs? What if she takes them and disappears? She won't get far, kid. I promise you that. Ledger's voice crackled through Ghost's phone on speaker. Got the financials. It's worse than we thought. How much worse? 5 years of foster care payments. 14 children total. $672,000 in state funds. Documented spending on children across all placements, $31,000. Ghost's knuckles went white on the steering wheel. That's over $600,000 they pocketed. $641,000 to be exact. And Ghost, I found something else. What life insurance policies? 2 former foster children died while in Crane custody. 1 in 2020. 1 in 2022. Both deaths ruled accidental. Both policies paid out. $180,000 total. Ms. Torres made a strangled sound. They killed children for insurance money. I'm not saying that yet, but I'm saying 2 dead kids and 2 big payouts is a hell of a coincidence. Those cases need to be reopened. Lucas's face had gone pale. Other kids died. Ghost reached back and squeezed his shoulder. That's not going to happen to you. Or Emma. Or Noah. You understand me? Lucas nodded, but his hands were shaking. They died because nobody helped them. Just like nobody helped us. Someone's helping now. Ms. Torres turned in her seat to look at him. 103 someones. And me, and Detective Kim, and everyone who's going to hear your story. Will people believe me? After tonight, the whole world is going to believe you. The convoy turned onto Cedar Valley Lane. Patricia Crane's silver SUV was already in the driveway. 8 motorcycles were parked along the curb. Brothers standing on the sidewalk, arms crossed, silent. Patricia stood on her front porch phone pressed to her ear, face white as paper. She wore a cardigan and pearls, the uniform of suburban respectability. Her husband Raymond stood behind her in a polo shirt, confused, angry. They looked exactly like concerned parents worried about a misunderstanding. But when Patricia saw the motorcycles, when she saw the police car, When she saw the convoy of chrome and leather stretching down her quiet street, something in her expression cracked. Fear. Real fear. Because performative goodness doesn't work when the audience knows what to look for. Detective Kim stepped out of her vehicle. Patricia and Raymond Crane. What is this? Raymond's voice was loud. Aggressive. What the hell is happening? We need to conduct an emergency welfare check on Emma and Noah Martinez. We already had a welfare check 3 weeks ago. Patricia's voice was tight, controlled. Everything was fine. This is harassment. This is a follow-up investigation based on new evidence. I need to inspect the home and interview the children separately. What new evidence? Who's making accusations? That's confidential. Please allow us inside. Patricia's eyes darted to the bikers. And them. Are they coming inside too? They're staying outside, but they're within their legal rights to observe from public property. Shepard stood at the curb, arms crossed, saying nothing. He didn't need to. His presence said everything. Patricia's mask flickered, just for a moment. Then the performance resumed. Of course, Detective. We have nothing to hide. Please come in. They stepped inside. The house was exactly what Detective Kim expected from the previous report. Clean, organized, middle-class comfortable. Family photos on the walls. Christian decor. Inspirational quotes in gold frames. A home that looked like 1,000 other suburban houses. A home that hid horrors in the attic. I'd like to see the children's bedrooms, Kim said. Patricia led her upstairs, opened a door to a cheerful room with 2 twin beds, stuffed animals, posters of cartoon characters. This is where Emma and Noah sleep. Kim examined the room. Beds made perfectly. Too perfectly. She ran her finger along the nightstand. Dust. Thick dust. This room hasn't been used in weeks. Of course it has. Patricia's voice wavered slightly. The children sleep here every night. Then why is there dust on every surface? Why are there no personal items anywhere? Children leave clutter. These rooms have none. Patricia's jaw tightened. I run a clean household. Where do the children actually sleep? Mrs. Crane Raymond appeared in the hallway. They sleep here. You can ask them yourself. Where are Emma and Noah right now downstairs? In the living room. Kim looked at Patricia. I need to interview them separately, without you present. Absolutely not. They're traumatized children. They need their foster mother with them. That's not a request, Mrs. Crane. That's a legal requirement for a welfare investigation. She brushed past Patricia and walked downstairs. 2 children sat on the couch. Emma, 5 years old. Thin. Dark circles under her eyes. Wheezing slightly with each breath. Noah, 4 years old. Completely still. Staring at nothing. Not reacting to the stranger in his living room. Kim knelt down in front of them. Hi there. My name is Sarah. I'm a police officer. I'm here to make sure you're okay. Emma's eyes darted to Patricia, who stood in the doorway. We're okay. Emma's voice was flat. Rehearsed. We love it here. Patricia and Raymond are the best family we've ever had. Kim's heart broke. That sounded like something someone taught you to say. Emma's lower lip trembled. She didn't respond. Noah didn't even look up. Kim stood. Mrs. Crane. I need you to wait in the kitchen while I speak with the children. I'm not leaving them alone with now Mrs. Crane. Patricia hesitated, then walked to the kitchen. Raymond followed. Kim waited until they were out of earshot. Then she knelt again. Emma, sweetie, you're not in trouble. Nothing you say will get you in trouble, but I need you to tell me the truth. Where do you really sleep? Emma's eyes filled with tears. She looked toward this kitchen. It's okay. Kim kept her voice gentle. They can't hear us. And I promise you, whatever you tell me, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you and Noah and Lucas. At her brother's name, Emma's composure shattered. You found Lucas. Is he okay? Patricia said. He ran away. Patricia said bad people took him, and we'd never see him again. Lucas is safe. He's outside right now, waiting for you. He's safe. Emma started crying. He's really safe, he is, and he told me everything. About the attic, about the lock, about the food, about the bruises. Emma's whole body shook with sobs. He told you. He really told. He did. And now I need you to tell me too, so I can help all three of you. Emma looked at her little brother. Noah hadn't moved, hadn't reacted, sitting like a statue. Noah doesn't talk anymore. He used to talk all the time. He stopped talking after Patricia locked him in the closet for 2 days. He was only 4. He wouldn't stop crying for his mama, so she locked him in the closet until he stopped. Kim felt bile rise in her throat. 2 days. He was so quiet after. He's been quiet ever since. I don't think Noah's coming back. Kim reached out slowly, touched Emma's hand. I'm going to get you out of here. All 3 of you. Tonight. You're never coming back to this house again. Promise, I promise. She stood, walked to the kitchen doorway. Mrs. Crane, I need to see where the children actually sleep. Patricia's face hardened. I showed you their rooms. You showed me staged rooms. Emma just told me they sleep in the attic, that you lock them in at night, that you locked Noah in a closet for 2 days. She's lying. Children lie. Traumatized children especially. Show me the attic. Patricia glanced at Raymond. Raymond's face had gone gray. There's nothing in the attic. It's just storage. Then you won't mind showing me. Long pause. Then Patricia's shoulders slumped. Just barely. Just enough. Fine. The attic stairs were narrow, steep. A deadbolt lock on the outside of the door at the top. Kim photographed the lock, then opened the door. Cold air hit her face. Damp, musty. 47 degrees according to her phone's thermometer. She stepped inside. 3 mattresses on the floor, thin blankets, no bed frames, no pillows, 1 bare bulb hanging from the ceiling, a bucket in the corner for bathroom needs, no windows, no heat, no ventilation. This is where you kept them. Kim's voice shook with controlled rage. This is where 3 children slept every night. Patricia said nothing. Raymond said nothing. Kim pulled out her phone, started taking photos. The mattresses, the bucket, the lock on the outside of the door, the temperature reading. How long, she asked. How long have you been locking children in this attic? Patricia's voice was barely audible. They preferred it. It was quieter up here. Children don't prefer to sleep in an unheated attic on the floor. Children don't prefer to be locked in like prisoners. Kim came back down the stairs. Her hands were shaking. Patricia and Raymond Crane, you are both under arrest for felony child endangerment. You have the right to remain silent. Wait. Raymond stepped forward. Wait. You don't understand. We were doing our best with difficult children. They're foster kids. They have issues. We were trying to help them. Help them. Kim's voice rose. You were collecting $11,200 a month while keeping them locked in an attic. You were starving them, beating them, denying medical care. She pulled out handcuffs. Turn around. Both of you. Patricia started crying. Dramatic sobs. This isn't fair. We opened our home to children nobody wanted. We gave them a family. You gave them a prison. And you're going to answer for it. Outside, 103 bikers watched as Patricia and Raymond Crane were led out in handcuffs. Lucas stood by Miss Torres's car ghost beside him, watching his abusers finally face consequences. He didn't feel happy. He didn't feel relieved. He felt empty. 7 months of terror, and it ended with 2 people in handcuffs walking past him like he didn't exist. Patricia saw him. Her eyes locked onto his. "You ungrateful little shepherd," stepped between them, blocked her view. "Keep walking, ma'am. You've got nothing to say to this child." Patricia was pushed into a police car, Raymond into another. The doors closed. And just like that, it was over. Except it wasn't over at all. Doc pushed through the crowd. "Where are the other 2 kids inside?" Kim pointed. 5-year-old girl with breathing problems, 4-year-old boy who's completely non-verbal, possible trauma-induced mutism. Doc grabbed his medical bag and went inside. 3 minutes later, he came out carrying Noah. The 4-year-old didn't react, didn't cling, didn't cry, just stared at nothing while a stranger carried him. Emma walked beside them, holding Doc's hand, wheezing with each step. Lucas broke away from Ms. Torres and ran to them. Noah. Emma saw him and burst into tears. "Lucas. Lucas, you're okay?" They crashed into each other, Lucas holding his foster sister while she sobbed into his shoulder. "I thought you were gone." Emma couldn't stop crying. "Patricia said bad people took you. She said we'd never see you again. I'm here. I'm right here." Lucas was crying too. "I didn't leave you. I would never leave you." Noah stood beside them, still silent, still staring. Lucas reached out and took his hand. "Hey buddy, it's me. It's Lucas. You're safe now. You don't have to be quiet anymore." Noah didn't respond, but his fingers tightened around Lucas's hand. Just barely. Just enough. Doc knelt beside them. "These kids need medical attention. The little girl's breathing is bad. Possible asthma attack brewing. The boy..." He shook his head. "The boy needs more than I can give him." Shepard nodded. "We've got an emergency foster family standing by. Get them to the hospital first. Full workups on all 3. Ms. Torres stepped forward. "I'm going with them." Ghost put his hand on her shoulder. "Becca, you've done enough. You saved these kids. I'm not done until they're safe. Really safe, not just out of that house." She looked at Shepard. "That emergency foster family. Are they good people?" "The best, James and Maria Santos. 15 years fostering. Never lost a child. Never had a complaint. They're waiting at the hospital right now." Ms. Torres nodded. "Then I'm going to the hospital. Lucas needs to know I'm not abandoning him." She knelt in front of Lucas. "Sweetheart, you have to go to the hospital now, just to make sure you're healthy. And there's a family there waiting for you. A good family, not like Patricia and Raymond." Lucas's grip on her hand tightened. "You're coming. I'm coming. You promise, I promise." 52 days I watched you, Lucas. You think I'm going to stop watching now?" He almost smiled. "Almost. You really counted every day, every single one. And I'm going to keep counting, until you're somewhere safe, until you're somewhere loved, until you never have to be afraid again." The ambulance arrived. Doc loaded the children carefully. Ms. Torres climbed in beside them. Ghost watched his sister go, then turned to Shepard. "The Cranes have money hidden somewhere. Ledger's tracking it. If they make bail, they won't make bail." Shepard's voice was certain. "Not with what we've got." "You sure, Ghost? When those cops see the attic, when the judge sees the evidence, when the prosecutor sees $641,000 in fraud, the Cranes aren't seeing daylight for a very long time. And the other kids? The ones who died, Ledger's already on it. He's pulling autopsy reports, insurance claims, everything. If those deaths weren't accidents. His jaw tightened. Then Patricia and Raymond Crane are going to answer for murder, too. Ghost looked at the house. The perfectly manicured lawn. The nice car in the driveway. The Christian decor visible through the windows. A house of horrors hiding in plain sight. How does this happen? How does a system let this happen? Because people don't count. Shepard's voice was heavy. They don't watch. They don't document. They believe the performance instead of looking for the truth. He looked at Ghost. But your sister counted. 52 days. She saw what everyone else missed. And because she called you, because you called me. 3 kids are alive tonight. Ghost nodded slowly. What happens now? Now we make sure justice actually happens. Shepard pulled out his phone. We've got witnesses to interview, evidence to gather, a trial to prepare for. He looked at the 103 motorcycles lining the street. And we've got a message to send. To every foster parent who thinks they can hurt kids for profit. To every system that looks the other way. To every abuser hiding behind a Sunday smile. What message we're watching? We're counting. And we're not going away. 2 hours later, Ledger walked into Shepard's office at the clubhouse. I've got everything. He dropped a folder on the desk. Thick, heavy, damning. 5 years of financial records, $672,000 in foster care payments, $31,000 spent on children. The rest went into personal accounts investments, a vacation home in Arizona they bought last year. Shepard flipped through the pages. They bought a vacation home with money meant for foster kids. Gets better. Ledger pulled out another sheet. Or worse, depending on how you look at it. The life insurance policies. 2 former foster children. A 6-year-old boy in 2020 supposedly fell down the stairs. An 8-year-old girl in 2022 supposedly drowned in the bathtub. Both deaths investigated. Both ruled accidental. Both policies paid out within 60 days. Shepard's hands clenched into fists. They killed those kids. I can't prove it yet. But I can prove they profited from those deaths. And I can prove they had a pattern of taking in vulnerable children, collecting money, providing minimal care, and cycling them out before anyone asked questions. He pulled out a final document. 14 children over 5 years. Average placement 6 months. None adopted. None long-term. Every single one moved to a different home after the Cranes cited behavioral issues. Those kids weren't the problem. No. Ledger's voice was cold. The Cranes were the problem, and they got away with it because the system is too broken, too overworked, and too willing to believe adults over children. Not anymore. Shepard stood, picked up his phone. Get me the prosecutor. Tonight. I don't care what time it is. This ends now. At Portland General Hospital, Lucas sat in a bed with Emma and Noah on either side of him. All 3 children had been examined. Documented. Fed. Lucas had gained 3 pounds in a single day just from eating regular meals. Emma's breathing was better after proper asthma medication. Noah still hadn't spoken, but he was holding Lucas's hand. Hadn't let go since they reunited. Ms. Torres sat in a chair beside them, watching, counting. 3 children. Safe. Together. A knock at the door. James and Maria Santos walked in. Mid-50s. Kind faces. Nervous smiles. Hi there. Maria's voice was soft, gentle. We're James and Maria. We're going to be taking care of you for a while. Lucas tensed. Emma pressed closer to him. Are you like Patricia and Raymond? Maria's face crumpled. Oh, sweetheart. No. No, we're nothing like them. James stepped forward. We've been foster parents for 15 years. We've had many children in our home, and I promise you on everything I hold sacred, you will never be hungry under our roof. You will never be locked in anywhere. You will never be hit, or hurt, or afraid." He knelt down so he was at their level. "You've been through something terrible. We know that. We're not asking you to trust us right away. Trust takes time. All we're asking is that you give us a chance to show you what a real family looks like." Lucas looked at Ms. Torres. "Can I trust them?" Ms. Torres smiled through tears. "Yes, sweetheart, you can trust them." Lucas looked at James and Maria, then at Emma, then at Noah. "Okay," he said quietly. "We'll try." Maria wiped her eyes. "That's all we ask." That night, in a warm house with real beds and full stomachs, 3 children slept without fear for the first time in 7 months. And outside, parked on the street, a single motorcycle kept watch. Ghost didn't leave until dawn. Some promises you don't break. 3 days after the arrest, Ledger walked into the Santos house with a box of documents and a look on his face that made Shepard's stomach drop. "We've got a problem." "What kind of problem? The kind that makes this case 10 times bigger than we thought." He set the box on the kitchen table. James and Maria had taken the children to the park with Ms. Torres. Ghost stood by the window watching the street. I tracked down 8 of the 14 former foster children who lived with the Cranes, and 5 of them agreed to talk. Off the record at first. But once they started, Ledger's voice caught. Once they started, they couldn't stop. Shepard pulled a chair out, sat down heavily. "Tell me." Ledger opened the box, pulled out a recorder. "Listen." A girl's voice filled the room. 16 years old now, placed with the Cranes at age 11. "I only lasted 6 months there. I was so hungry all the time. They made me clean the house top to bottom every weekend. When I told my caseworker, Patricia cried and said I was lying for attention. They moved me to another home." Her voice broke. I was so relieved to leave. But I knew there were other kids coming after me. I tried to tell people. Nobody listened. Foster kids don't get believed. Ledger stopped the recording. "There's more." He hit play again. A boy's voice, 14 now, placed with the Cranes at age 9. They're really good at pretending. When my caseworker came, they'd have us dress nice, smile, say everything was fine. Patricia coached us. If you tell the truth, they'll separate you from your siblings. If you tell the truth, you'll go somewhere worse. Pause. I believed her. I lied to protect myself. And now other kids got hurt because I was too scared to speak up. Ghost's fists clenched. How many of them have stories like this? All 5. Ledger's voice was flat. Same pattern. Hunger. Forced labor. Coached scripts. And when the kids started showing signs of distress, Patricia requested new placements citing behavioral issues. The system moved them out before anyone could investigate. 5 kids in 5 years. All telling the same story, and nobody connected the dots. The system doesn't connect dots. The system processes paperwork, different caseworkers, different counties sometimes, nobody looking at the big picture. Shepard rubbed his face with both hands. What about the 2 who died? That's where it gets worse. Ledger pulled out a folder. Thick, heavy. Marcus Chen, 6 years old. Placed with the Cranes in March 2020. Died in September 2020. Official cause of death, accidental fall down the stairs. Traumatic brain injury. Shepard opened the folder. Read the autopsy report. Multiple bruises at different healing stages. Noted but attributed to normal childhood activity. He looked up at Ledger. This kid had bruises all over his body, and they ruled it accidental. The Cranes told investigators Marcus was clumsy, hyperactive, always bumping into things. The medical examiner bought it, and the insurance $75,000 policy, taken out 2 months before his death, paid within 60 days of his funeral. Ghost punched the wall. They insured a 6-year-old and then killed him. I can't prove they killed him. Not yet. But the pattern is there. Ledger pulled out another folder. Sarah Williams, 8 years old. Placed with the Cranes in January 2022. Died in July 2022. Official cause of death, accidental drowning in the bathtub. Shepard's voice was barely audible. An 8-year-old drowned in a bathtub. According to the report, she had a seizure while bathing. No history of seizures. No medical condition that would explain it. But the Cranes said she'd been tired lately. Stressed from school. The medical examiner ruled it accidental. Insurance, $105,000. Taken out 3 months before her death. Ghost turned from the window. That's murder. That's 2 counts of murder. That's what I'm going to prove. Ledger closed the folders. I've requested the original autopsy files, the crime scene photos, the investigation notes, everything. He looked at Shepard. But I need more time. And I need the prosecutor to take this seriously. Shepard stood. She will. After she sees this. 2 hours later, Prosecutor Amanda Chen sat in the clubhouse reading through Ledger's documentation. She was 43. Sharp. Aggressive. Known for never losing a child abuse case. She'd also never seen evidence like this. $641,000 in fraud, she said slowly. 14 children cycled through the system. 5 willing to testify. 2 suspicious deaths with insurance payouts. She looked up at Shepard. How did you compile all of this, former FBI? Ledger stepped forward. Financial Crimes Unit. I know how to follow money. This is the most comprehensive fraud case I've ever seen. And if those deaths weren't accidental, then we're looking at murder charges, Shepard finished. Amanda nodded slowly. I'm adding charges. Felony child endangerment, aggravated fraud, embezzlement of state funds, and I'm reopening this death investigations. She stood. The Cranes aren't getting out of this. Not with what you've given me. What about bail I'm arguing for? No bail. Flight risk, danger to the community, pattern of predatory behavior. She gathered the documents. Thank you for bringing this to me. Most people would have let the system handle it. The system let 14 children get hurt. Shepard's voice was hard. 3 of them almost died. 2 of them did die. The system doesn't get any more chances. Amanda met his eyes. Neither do the Cranes. The bail hearing happened 4 days later. Patricia Crane stood in an orange jumpsuit, tears streaming down her face. Her lawyer argued she was a pillar of the community, a church-going woman, a devoted foster mother who made mistakes but never meant harm. Amanda Chen stood up. Your Honor, Patricia Crane collected $672,000 in foster care payments over 5 years while spending $31,000 on the children in her care. She kept 3 children locked in an unheated attic. She denied medical care to a 5-year-old with asthma. She starved a 7-year-old until he was 15 pounds underweight. She paused. And 2 children died in her care under suspicious circumstances. Both had life insurance policies taken out months before their deaths. Both policies paid out immediately. The courtroom went silent. This is not a woman who made mistakes. This is a woman who ran a profit operation using vulnerable children as inventory. And when those children became inconvenient, they disappeared. She looked at the judge. The people request no bail. Patricia Crane is a flight risk with significant hidden assets and a danger to any child she might encounter. Patricia's lawyer objected, cited her community ties, her church involvement, her clean record. Judge Michael Torres, no relation to Ms. Torres or Ghost, listened to both arguments. Then he spoke. I've reviewed the evidence presented by the prosecution, the financial records, the witness statements, the documentation of conditions those children lived in. He looked at Patricia. Mrs. Crane, you and your husband collected over $500,000 meant to care for vulnerable children while keeping them locked in an attic like animals. You denied them food, you denied them medical care, you denied them basic human dignity. His voice hardened. Bail is denied. You will remain in custody pending trial. Patricia collapsed, sobbing, screaming that it wasn't fair. The bailiff led her away. Raymond Crane's hearing was next. Same result. No bail. Outside the courthouse, Shepard addressed the media. We're not celebrating. There's nothing to celebrate when children have been hurt this badly. But we're grateful that the system is finally working, that these children are finally being heard. A reporter shouted a question. What about the 2 children who died? Are murder charges coming? Those cases are being reinvestigated. Shepard's voice was measured. I can't comment further. But I can promise you this, if Patricia and Raymond Crane are responsible for those deaths, they will answer for them. Another reporter. What role did your motorcycle club play in this? We showed up, that's all. We showed up when a teacher called for help. We showed up when 3 children needed protection. We showed up when the system moved too slow. He looked directly into the cameras. That's what communities are supposed to do. Show up. 1 week after the bail hearing, Dr. Lisa Park completed her medical assessments of all 3 children. She sat with Ms. Torres and the Santos family in her office. Lucas is recovering well. He's gained 7 pounds. His energy levels are improving. Physically, he'll be fine within a few months. And emotionally, Ms. Torres asked, that's going to take longer. He's carrying 7 months of trauma. He's been the protector, the caretaker, the adult in that house. He needs to learn how to be a child again. She turned to her notes. Emma's asthma is now properly managed. She's responding well to medication. Developmentally, she's behind in speech and social skills, but with therapy she'll catch up. Maria Santos wiped her eyes. And Noah Dr. Park was quiet for a moment. Noah is my biggest concern. He hasn't spoken in over 3 months. Trauma-induced selective mutism. He witnessed things no 4-year-old should witness. He was locked in a closet for 2 days. Her voice caught. He's retreated somewhere inside himself. Somewhere safe. Getting him to come back out. That's going to take time. A lot of time and a lot of patience. James Santos leaned forward. What do we do? Love him. Dr. Park's voice was soft. Don't pressure him to speak. Create safety. Create routine. Let him know every single day that he's protected. She looked at all of them. These children have been through hell, but they have something now that they didn't have before. What's that people who care, people who show up, people who count? Ms. Torres smiled through her tears. 52 days. 52 days that saved 3 lives. The therapy sessions started the following week. Dr. Michael Chen specialized in childhood trauma. He'd worked with foster children for 20 years, seen the worst of what humans could do to each other. But Lucas's story still broke his heart. In their first session, Lucas sat across from him. Guarded. Suspicious. You're supposed to fix me, right? That's what therapists do. I'm not here to fix you, Lucas. There's nothing broken about you. Then why am I here? Because you've been carrying something heavy for a long time. And sometimes it helps to share the weight. Lucas was quiet for a moment. I had to protect them. Emma and Noah. They're smaller than me. They couldn't protect themselves. That must have been exhausting. Lucas's eyes filled with tears. I tried so hard. Every day. I gave them my food. I held them when they cried. I told them stories to help them sleep. His voice cracked. But I couldn't make it stop. I couldn't make Patricia stop hurting them. I couldn't make Raymond stop being angry. I was just a kid. I was just 7 years old. And I couldn't save them. Dr. Chen leaned forward. Lucas, look at me. Lucas looked up. You saved them. Every single day. You kept them alive. You kept them hoping. You kept them together. But the bruises, the hunger, the attic, would have been worse without you. Dr. Chen's voice was firm. You were their shield, their protector, their big brother. And when the moment came when Ms. Torres asked you to trust her, you found the courage to show her the truth. That's what saved them. Your courage. Lucas broke down then. Really broke down. Sobbing in a way he hadn't allowed himself to sob since the rescue. I was so scared. Every day, I was so scared. I know. And being scared while still protecting people, that's called bravery. 2 weeks later, something unexpected happened. Noah spoke. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Lucas was sitting with him in the Santos living room, reading a picture book the way he'd done every day for months, not expecting anything, just being there. And then Noah whispered, Lucas. Lucas froze. His heart stopped. What did you say, buddy? Lucas? Lucas pulled Noah into his arms, held him tight. I'm here. I'm right here. I'm never leaving you. Noah's arms wrapped around Lucas's neck. His first voluntary touch in 3 months. Safe. Yeah, buddy. We're safe. We're finally safe. Maria Santos found them like that. Both crying. Both holding each other. She didn't interrupt. She just watched. And thanked God for the miracle she was witnessing. 3 weeks before the trial, Ledger made a discovery that changed everything. I found the medical examiner he told Shepard, the one who ruled both deaths accidental, and he retired 6 months ago. Lives in Arizona now. I tracked him down. Shepard straightened. Did he talk eventually? Ledger's voice was grim. He admitted the Crane cases bothered him, said the evidence didn't quite fit, but he got pressure from above to close both cases quickly. Pressure from who? The county had a backlog of cases. Budget cuts. Understaffed. His supervisors wanted quick closures, not thorough investigations. Ledger pulled out a recording. He agreed to testify. Admitted he should have looked harder. Admitted the bruises on Marcus Chen were inconsistent with a fall. Admitted Sarah Williams drowning in 6 inches of bathwater didn't make sense. He hit play. An old man's voice, tired, guilty. I knew something was wrong. The injuries didn't match the stories. But I was overworked, underpaid, overwhelmed. I took the easy path and signed off on accidental. Pause. 2 children are dead because I didn't do my job. I have to live with that. But I'll testify. I'll tell the truth. Those kids deserve that much. Shepard's jaw tightened. This changes everything. It does. With his testimony and the insurance policies and the pattern of abuse. Ledger looked at Shepard. Murder charges are coming. Amanda Chen filed the amended charges the next day. 2 counts of second-degree murder. Patricia and Raymond Crane, for the deaths of Marcus Chen and Sarah Williams. The news exploded. National coverage. International attention. The story of 103 bikers, 3 foster children, and 2 alleged murders spread across every platform. Lenz managed the media carefully, released statements, coordinated interviews, made sure the focus stayed on the children, not the spectacle. "This isn't entertainment," he told reporters. "This is justice. These are real children who suffered real abuse. Show some respect." Most of them did. The ones who didn't found themselves facing 103 angry bikers. They showed respect after that. 5 days before the trial, Ms. Torres visited Lucas at the Santos house. He'd gained 12 pounds. His color was healthy. His eyes were bright. But when he saw her, he still ran to hug her. Ms. Torres. "Hey, sweetheart." She held him tight. "Look at you. You look so good. Maria says I'm getting too big to carry, but James still picks me up sometimes." He pulled back, looked at her seriously. "Are you going to be at the trial, eh? I'm testifying. What do you have to tell them?" "The truth. Everything I saw, everything I documented. Will they believe you?" Ms. Torres knelt down, met his eyes. "Lucas, I have 52 days of photographs, medical records, witness statements, and I have you." She touched his face. "They're going to believe us, and Patricia and Raymond are never going to hurt another child again." Lucas nodded slowly. "Good. Then quietly, I still have nightmares sometimes. About the attic. About being locked in." "I know, sweetheart. That's normal. Those nightmares might take a while to go away, but they will go away." Ms. Torres smiled. "Eventually. When your heart finally believes what your mind already knows. What does my mind know? That you're safe, that you're loved, that you're never going back to that house." Lucas looked at her for a long moment. Then he said something that made her cry. "You saved my life, Ms. Torres. You counted when nobody else did. I'm going to remember that forever." She pulled him into another hug. "I'm going to remember too, sweetheart. Every single day." The trial was set to begin Monday morning. 103 bikers planned to attend. A teacher prepared to testify. 3 children waited for justice. And Patricia and Raymond Crane, sitting in separate jail cells, finally understood what they'd lost. Everything. They'd lost everything. And it was only the beginning. The courtroom was full before 8 a.m. 103 bikers filled every available seat. Some stood against the walls. Others lined the hallway outside, waiting for updates. Ms. Torres sat in the front row. Ghost beside her. Shepard 2 seats down. The Santos family stayed home with the children. Lucas had wanted to come. Maria had gently told him no. "This isn't something you need to see, sweetheart. Let the adults handle this part." He'd accepted it, reluctantly. But he'd made Ms. Torres promise to tell him everything. Every single word. Judge Patricia Morrison entered at 9 Huzurus a.m. sharp, 71 years old, 30 years on the bench, known for fairness, known for toughness, known for having zero tolerance for people who hurt children. She looked at Patricia Crane, then at Raymond Crane, both seated at the defense table in orange jumpsuits. Her expression revealed nothing. But Ghost knew. Everyone who'd been watching this case knew. The Cranes were finished. Prosecutor Amanda Chen stood first. "Your Honor, members of the jury, over the next 4 days you will hear testimony that will disturb you, evidence that will enrage you, stories that will break your heart." She walked slowly toward the jury box. "You will hear about 3 children, Lucas Bennett, age 7, Emma Martinez, age 5, and Noah Martinez, age 4, who were placed in the care of Patricia and Raymond Crane. You will hear how those children were locked in an unheated attic every night for 7 months, how they were starved while their foster parents collected over $11,000 a month meant for their care, how they were beaten for crying, for asking for food, for being children. Her voice hardened. You will also hear about 14 other children who passed through the Crane household over 5 years. Children who were hungry, children who were afraid, children who were silenced. And you will hear about 2 children who never made it out alive. The courtroom was silent. Marcus Chen, 6 years old, died in September 2020. Official cause accidental fall. Sarah Williams, 8 years old, died in July 2022. Official cause accidental drowning. Both children had life insurance policies taken out months before their deaths. Both policies paid out immediately after their funerals. She turned to face the Cranes directly. Patricia and Raymond Crane didn't make mistakes. They ran a business. Children were their inventory, and when those children became inconvenient, they disposed of them. This trial is about accountability. This trial is about justice. This trial is about making sure these defendants never hurt another child again. The defense attorney stood. His name was Harold Cross. Expensive suit. Confident smile. The kind of lawyer who made a living defending the indefensible. Your Honor, my clients are victims of a witch hunt, a sensationalized media circus fueled by vigilante bikers who took the law into their own hands. He gestured toward the Hells Angels in the gallery. These people showed up at my client's home with over 100 motorcycles. They intimidated witnesses. They poisoned public opinion. My clients cannot possibly receive a fair trial in this environment. Judge Morrison looked at him. Mr. Cross, do you have any evidence that these individuals interfered with the investigation, tampered with witnesses, broke any laws? They were present at present is not a crime, Mr. Cross. The First Amendment protects peaceful assembly. If your only defense is that concerned citizens showed up to support child welfare, you're going to need a better argument. She turned to the jury. You will evaluate the evidence presented in this courtroom. Only the evidence. The presence of observers in the gallery is irrelevant to your deliberations. Proceed, Ms. Chen. Amanda nodded. Thank you, Your Honor. The people call Rebecca Torres. Ms. Torres walked to the witness stand. Her hands were steady. Her voice was clear. She'd been preparing for this moment for weeks. Ms. Torres, Amanda began. How long have you been teaching at Willow Creek Elementary? 28 years. And when did you first notice something was wrong with Lucas Bennett? The second week of January 2025. He fell asleep in class for the 3rd time that week. When I asked if he was getting enough sleep, he flinched. Just for a moment. But I noticed. What did you do? I started watching, documenting, taking photographs. Photographs of what? His clothing. Lucas wore the same faded blue t-shirt every single day. I photographed it for 52 consecutive school days. Amanda walked to the evidence table, picked up a thick binder. Is this your documentation? Yes. Date-stamped photographs, behavioral notes, everything I observed from January through May. Amanda handed the binder to the jury. 52 days, Ms. Torres. Why didn't you report earlier? Because I needed proof. Foster children who make accusations often aren't believed. I wanted documentation that couldn't be dismissed. And on May 14th, what happened? I kept Lucas after class, asked him directly why he always wore the same clothes. He started crying. Then he showed me his arms. What did you see? Bruises. Multiple bruises at different stages of healing, fingerprint patterns from being grabbed, some fresh, some weeks old. Her voice caught. He was 7 years old. 7 years old with bruises all over his arms. And he begged me not to tell anyone because he was afraid it would make things worse. What did you do next? I called my brother, Marcus Torres. I knew he could help. Why your brother specifically? Because he's a member of the Hells Angels, and I knew that when Marcus showed up, people would pay attention. Harold Cross jumped up. Objection. The witness is admitting to involving a criminal organization. Judge Morrison cut him off. The Hells Angels are not a criminal organization under federal law, Mr. Cross. Sit down. Cross sat. His face was red. Amanda continued. What happened after you called your brother? Within 90 minutes, 103 motorcycles were in the school parking lot. My brother activated something called Code Fallen Youth. It's a protocol for emergency child protection. And then we went to the Crane house. Police, CPS, and witnesses, lots of witnesses. What did you find? Ms. Torres looked directly at Patricia Crane. We found an attic, 47 degrees, 3 mattresses on a concrete floor, a bucket for bathroom needs, and a deadbolt lock on the outside of the door. She paused. That's where 3 children slept every night for 7 months, locked in, like prisoners, like animals. The jury was pale. Some were crying. Amanda let the silence hold. Then she said no further questions. Cross stood for cross-examination, Miss Torres. Isn't it true that you violated protocol by not immediately reporting to CPS? I filed a mandatory report on May 14th, the same day I saw the bruises. But you'd been watching for months, documenting. Why not report sooner? Because the system had already failed Lucas 3 times. CPS had visited that house 3 weeks earlier and found nothing wrong. I needed evidence strong enough that they couldn't ignore. So you took matters into your own hands, called a biker gang instead of proper authorities. Ms. Torres's eyes flashed. I called my brother, a Marine veteran who dedicates his life to protecting children. And then I called the police, and CPS, and everyone else who should have been paying attention from the start. Cross pressed on. Did you consider that your brother's involvement might contaminate the investigation? I considered that 3 children were being starved and beaten while the system did nothing. I considered that Lucas looked at me and said, please don't make me go back. I considered that if I followed standard protocol, he would have gone back to that house. She leaned forward. Tell me, Mr. Cross. What would you have done? Cross had no answer. No further questions. Day 2. Ledger took the stand. Mr. Morrison. Amanda began. What is your professional background? 22 years with the FBI. Financial Crimes Unit. Specialized in fraud investigation. And what did you find when you examined the Crane's finances? Ledger pulled out his notes. Over 5 years, Patricia and Raymond Crane received $672,000 in foster care payments. 14 children. Average placement, 6 months. How much of that money was spent on the children? $31,000. Total. Across all 14 children. That's less than 5%. Correct. The remaining $641,000 went into personal accounts investments and a vacation home in Arizona purchased in 2023. The jury stirred. Whispers. Amanda continued. What else did you find? Life insurance policies. 2 of them. On Marcus Chen and Sarah Williams. Both children who died in Crane custody. When were those policies taken out? Marcus Chen's policy was purchased 2 months before his death. Sarah Williams' policy was purchased 3 months before hers. And the payouts, $75,000 for Marcus. $105,000 for Sarah. $180,000 total. She let that sink in. In your professional opinion, Mr. Morrison, what does this pattern indicate? Ledger looked at the jury. It indicates premeditation. You don't take out life insurance on a healthy child unless you expect that child to die. Cross objected. Speculation. Judge Morrison overruled. The witness is offering expert opinion based on 22 years of fraud investigation. Continue. Amanda asked Mr. Morrison, have you seen cases like this before? I've seen financial exploitation. I've seen fraud. But this, he shook his head. This is children being used as profit centers. This is systematic, calculated, sustained abuse designed to maximize income while minimizing expenditure. He looked directly at the Cranes. These people didn't see children. They saw dollar signs. Day 3. The former foster children testified. Megan Sullivan, 16 years old, placed with the Cranes at age 11. She sat in the witness stand with her hands clasped tight, voice shaking. I was so hungry all the time. They gave us 1 meal a day, sometimes just bread. Patricia said children who couldn't earn their food didn't deserve to eat. Amanda's voice was gentle. What did you have to do to earn food clean? Cook, yard work. I scrubbed floors until my knees bled. I mowed the lawn in 100-degree heat. I did everything they asked. Did you ever tell anyone I told my caseworker? Patricia was there when I said it. She started crying, said I was lying for attention, that she'd opened her home to a troubled child and this was how I repaid her. What happened after that, they moved me to another home 3 weeks later. Patricia said I was too difficult, that I had behavioral issues. Megan's voice broke. I was just hungry. That was my behavioral issue. I was hungry. Tyler Rodriguez, 14 years old, placed with the Cranes at age 9. They coached us before every visit, made us memorize scripts. If anyone asks, you love it here. If anyone asks, we're the best family you've ever had. Did you follow the script? Yes. Because Patricia told us what would happen if we didn't. What did she tell you? That they'd separate us from our siblings, that we'd go somewhere worse, that nobody would believe foster kids anyway. He looked at the jury. I believed her. I lied to protect myself, and other kids got hurt because I was too scared to speak up. His voice cracked. I'm not lying anymore. Jennifer Walsh, 20 years old now, placed with the Cranes at age 12. I was there when Marcus died. The courtroom went completely silent. I was in the house. I heard the fall. I heard Patricia screaming. But it didn't sound like panic. It sounded like performance. What do you mean? I mean she was screaming for the neighbors to hear, making sure people knew she was upset. But when she looked at me when nobody else could see... Jennifer took a shaky breath. She smiled. Murmurs erupted in the courtroom. Judge Morrison called for order. Amanda pressed forward. What happened after Marcus died? They sent me to another home 2 weeks later. Patricia said I was too traumatized to stay, but I think they just wanted me gone before I could ask questions. Did you tell anyone what you saw? I tried. They said I was confused, traumatized, that I'd imagined it. She looked at the Cranes. I didn't imagine anything. I know what I saw, and I've been waiting 8 years to tell someone who would finally believe me. Day 4. Lucas's testimony. The judge had approved closed-circuit video to protect him from facing his abusers directly. Lucas sat in a small room with Ms. Torres beside him. A camera connected him to the courtroom where everyone waited. His voice was small, but steady. Amanda asked questions gently. Lucas, can you tell the jury about the attic? It was cold. Always cold. We had thin blankets, but they weren't enough. We slept on the floor. What else do you remember? The lock. Patricia locked the door every night. We couldn't get out. If we had to go to the bathroom, we used a bucket. Did you ever ask to use the real bathroom? Once, Raymond hit me. Said kids don't make demands. Lucas's voice wavered. I didn't ask again. What about food, Lucas? We were hungry, all the time. Patricia said food was expensive, and kids who couldn't earn it didn't deserve it. What did you have to do to earn food? Chores, cleaning, yard work. But sometimes even when we did everything, she still said we weren't good enough. Lucas wiped his eyes. I used to give my food to Emma and Noah. They're smaller. They needed it more. Who are Emma and Noah? My foster brother and sister. They're 4 and 5. I tried to protect them. Protect them from what? From Patricia. From Raymond. From being scared all the time. His voice broke completely. I was supposed to protect them. That was my job. But I couldn't stop it. I couldn't make it stop. Ms. Torres put her hand on his shoulder. Lucas, Amanda said softly. What made you finally tell your teacher? She asked about my clothes, why I always wore the same shirt. Nobody ever asked before. But she did. He looked into the camera. She counted. 52 days. She saw me when nobody else did. And I knew if I didn't tell her the truth, I might not get another chance. The jury was weeping. The judge wiped her eyes. Even Harold Cross had nothing to say. The defense called no witnesses. What could they possibly say? Closing arguments came on day 5. Amanda stood before the jury one final time. You've heard the evidence. 52 days of photographs, medical records, financial documentation, testimony from former foster children, testimony from a 7-year-old boy who found the courage to speak up. She paused. Patricia and Raymond Crane had one job: to care for vulnerable children. Instead, they exploited them, starved them, beat them, locked them in an attic like animals, and when 2 children died in their care, they collected insurance money and found new victims. Her voice hardened. This isn't about mistakes. This isn't about being overwhelmed. This is about greed, cruelty, and murder. She looked at the jury. Find them guilty. All charges. For Lucas. For Emma. For Noah. For Marcus. For Sarah. For every child who passed through that house of horrors. Give them justice. Harold Cross gave his closing argument. It was weak, full of excuses, claims of reasonable doubt. The jury didn't buy a word. They deliberated for 73 minutes. When they returned, the foreman stood. On the charges of felony child endangerment, how do you find guilty? All counts. Fraud and embezzlement. Guilty. All counts. False imprisonment, guilty. Murder in the 2nd degree. Marcus Chen, guilty. Murder in the 2nd degree. Sarah Williams, guilty. Patricia screamed. Raymond sat frozen. Shepard closed his eyes. 23 years of grief. Finally answered. Ghost texted his sister, guilty. All counts. Ms. Torres wept in the hallway. Justice. Finally, justice. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. Judge Morrison looked at Patricia and Raymond Crane. In 30 years on the bench, I have never seen such calculated evil. You didn't fail these children. You preyed on them. You exploited their vulnerability. You treated them as commodities. And when 2 of them became inconvenient, you killed them. She paused. Patricia Crane, I sentence you to 45 years in state prison, no eligibility for parole for 30 years. Patricia collapsed, screaming, crying. Raymond Crane, I sentence you to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Raymond stared straight ahead. Empty. Additionally, you will both pay full restitution of $641,000 to a trust fund for your victims." She looked at them one final time. "You will die in prison, and that is exactly what you deserve." The gavel fell. Outside, Shepard addressed the waiting crowd. "This isn't vengeance. This is accountability. This is a message to every person who thinks they can hurt children for profit." He looked into the cameras. "We're watching, we're counting, and we will never stop showing up." That night, Ghost sat on the Santos porch, Ms. Torres beside him, both of them exhausted, both of them relieved. "It's over," Ghost said quietly. "Is it? The trial is. The Cranes are going to prison forever. But those kids, they've got a long road ahead." Ms. Torres nodded. "They do, but they have people now. People who care." She looked at her brother. 52 days. That's all it took." Ghost smiled slightly. "That's all it ever takes. Someone paying attention. Someone willing to count." Inside the house, Lucas slept peacefully for the first time in months. No nightmares. No fear. Just sleep. And in the room next door, Noah spoke his second word. Safe. He whispered it to Emma in the darkness. Safe. Emma held his hand. "Yeah," she whispered back. "We're safe." And they were. Finally, they were. 6 months passed. Lucas stood in front of his second-grade class at Jefferson Elementary, his new school, his new life. He'd gained 22 pounds. His cheeks had color. His eyes had light. And today, he was giving a presentation. "My name is Lucas Bennett Santos," he said. His voice was clear. Strong. "I'm 8 years old now, and this is my science fair project." He pointed to the poster behind him. "The effects of malnutrition on childhood development." His teacher, Mr. Patterson, watched from the back of the room. He knew Lucas's story. Everyone did. But he'd never seen a child turn trauma into education quite like this. Lucas continued. "When children don't get enough food, their brains can't grow properly. Their bodies can't develop. They get tired. They can't focus. They fall asleep in class." He paused. "I know this because it happened to me." The classroom was silent. For 7 months, I lived in a house where food was a punishment, where being hungry was normal, where asking for more meant getting hurt. He pointed to a chart showing weight progression. "This red line shows how much I should have weighed. This blue line shows how much I actually weighed when my teacher found me. 15 pounds difference. That's like missing a whole part of yourself." A girl in the front row raised her hand. "Did you get better?" Lucas smiled. "Yeah, I got better. Because someone noticed. Someone counted. And someone showed up." He held up a photograph. "This is my teacher, Ms. Torres. She took pictures of me wearing the same shirt for 52 days. She documented everything. And when I finally told her the truth, she believed me." He put the photograph down. "My project isn't just about science. It's about paying attention. Because there are kids everywhere who are hungry, who are scared, who are invisible." His voice strengthened. "But they don't have to be invisible. Not if people count. Not if people see. Not if people show up." Mr. Patterson wiped his eyes. The judges gave Lucas second place. But every person in that room knew he'd won something far more important. After the science fair, Ms. Torres found Lucas in the hallway. She'd driven 45 minutes to be there. Wouldn't have missed it for anything. "Second place," she said, hugging him. "I'm so proud of you." "I wanted first. Lucas admitted. But the volcano project was really good. Ms. Torres laughed. Your project was better. You know why? Because it was real. Because it mattered. Because you took the worst thing that ever happened to you and turned it into something that might help other kids. Lucas looked at her. Do you think it will? Help other kids? I know it will. She knelt down, met his eyes. Lucas, your story has already helped other kids. Since the trial, since the news coverage, foster care investigations in Oregon have increased by 40%. 3 other abusive foster homes have been shut down. 14 children have been rescued. Because of me, because of you, because you found the courage to show me your bruises, because you trusted me when you had every reason not to trust anyone. Lucas was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Ms. Torres, I want to do more. I want to help more kids. You will, sweetheart, when you're older, when you're ready. What if I'm ready now? She smiled. Then let's figure out what that looks like. 2 weeks later, Lucas stood in the Portland City Council chambers. Shepard beside him. Ghost on the other side. Ms. Torres in the front row. The council was considering a new law. Lucas's law. Mandatory quarterly home inspections for foster placements. Required private interviews with foster children. Enhanced background checks. Financial auditing of foster care payments. And Lucas was there to speak in favor of it. He stepped up to the microphone. Adjusted it to his height. My name is Lucas Bennett Santos. I'm 8 years old. His voice echoed through the chamber. 7 months ago, I lived in a house where I was locked in an attic every night. Where I was starved. Where I was beaten for asking for food. The council members shifted uncomfortably. CPS came to that house 3 weeks before I was rescued. They looked at fake bedrooms. They asked me questions while my abusers stood right there. They left without knowing the truth. He paused. I'm not mad at them. They were following the rules. But the rules were wrong. He looked at each council member. If someone had talked to me alone, I would have told them everything. If someone had looked at where I really slept, they would have seen the attic. If someone had checked the money, they would have seen the fraud. But nobody did. Because the rules didn't make them. His voice rose. 2 kids died in that house before me. Marcus and Sarah. They were 6 and 8 years old. They died because nobody checked hard enough. He took a breath. I'm asking you to change the rules, not for me. I'm safe now, but for the kids who aren't safe yet. The kids who are invisible right now. The kids who are waiting for someone to count. The chamber was silent. Please, Lucas said, don't let another kid die because the rules weren't good enough. He stepped back from the microphone. Shepard put his hand on Lucas's shoulder. The council voted unanimously. Lucas's law passed that night. The news coverage was immediate. National, international. An 8-year-old boy standing before city council asking for laws to protect children like him. The story spread across every platform. Lens managed the media carefully, made sure Lucas's privacy was protected, made sure the focus stayed on the message, not the spectacle. But the impact was undeniable. Within 6 months, 17 other states introduced similar legislation. Lucas's law became a model for foster care reform across the country. And it all started with one boy who refused to stay silent. The anniversary came faster than anyone expected. May 14th, 2026. 1 year since Ms. Torres kept Lucas after class. 1 year since a faded blue t-shirt revealed a horror nobody wanted to see. The Hell's Angels. Portland chapter organized a community event, not a celebration. A remembrance, a promise. Families attended. Former foster children who'd found healing. Social workers who'd learned to look deeper. Teachers who'd learned to count. Lucas, Emma, and Noah were there, standing with James and Maria Santos, who'd finalized the adoption 3 months earlier. The children's last names were legally Santos now. Their choice. Their family. Shepard stood at a microphone in the center of the gathering. 103 brothers behind him. Community members in front of him. "We're here because one teacher counted to 52, he said. "We're here because one child was brave enough to show his bruises. We're here because 103 men decided that protecting children mattered more than anything else they had to do that day." He paused. "Tommy, my son died 23 years ago because nobody showed up for him. I couldn't save him. But because of what we learned from losing him, we saved Lucas. We saved Emma. We saved Noah." His voice caught. "And we'll keep saving kids as long as there are kids who need saving." The crowd was silent. "This isn't a biker story," Shepard continued. "This is a community story. Ms. Torres, who counted days. Ledger, who followed money. Doc, who treated injuries. Scholar, who helped kids learn again. Lens, who made sure the story was told. Ghost, who answered his sister's call." He looked at Lucas. "And this young man, who survived 7 months of hell and turned it into hope for other children." Lucas stepped forward. He'd asked to speak. Ms. Torres had helped him write it, but the words were his. "I'm 8 now," he said. His voice quiet but steady. "I'm in 2nd grade. I'm on the honor roll. I'm in chess club. I have friends. I have a family. I have enough to eat." He took a breath. "I have a bed that's warm. I have people who care about me. I have a brother and sister who are safe." His voice strengthened. "But I almost didn't have any of that. If Ms. Torres hadn't counted, if she'd looked away like everyone else, I don't know where I'd be. Maybe still in that attic. Maybe gone like Marcus and Sarah." He looked at Shepard. At Ghost. At all 103 men who'd shown up for him. "I'm here because people showed up. Scary-looking people. People with motorcycles and leather jackets. People who are supposed to mean danger." He paused. "But they were the safest people I'd ever met. Because they didn't just say they cared. They proved it." Emma stepped forward. Held Lucas's hand. "I was scared of them at first," she said. Her voice small, but clear. "The big men on motorcycles. Patricia said bikers were bad people." She looked at Shepard. "But they saved us. They came to our school. They stayed outside our house. They made sure we were safe." Her voice cracked. "I'm not scared of them anymore. I love them." Noah stepped forward. He was speaking more now. Slowly. Carefully. But speaking. He looked at the crowd, at the bikers, at Ms. Torres. "Safe," he said. One word. The word that mattered most. Maria Santos wiped her eyes. James put his arm around her. Their children. Their family. Their miracle. Lucas held up his phone. Showed a photo on the screen. The faded blue t-shirt. Now framed. Hanging in the Portland Children's Advocacy Center. A placard beside it reading 52 days. Someone counted. Someone cared. "This shirt is in a museum now," Lucas said. "Not because it's special, but because of what it represents." He looked at the crowd. "It represents someone paying attention. Someone refusing to look away. Someone counting when everyone else stopped." He lowered the phone. "If you're listening to this, if you're hearing our story, here's what I want you to know. His voice rose. You don't need a motorcycle to save someone. You don't need 100 friends. You just need to pay attention, count the days, notice when something's wrong, care enough to do something about it. He looked at Ms. Torres. That's what she did. And because she did, I'm alive. Emma's alive. Noah's alive. He paused. And maybe someday, because of our story, other kids will be alive too. Ms. Torres was crying openly now. So was Ghost. So was Shepard. So were half the people in that crowd. One more thing, Lucas said. If you're a kid who's hurting right now, if you're scared, if you're hungry, if you're invisible. His voice softened. You're not invisible to me. I see you. I know what it feels like. And I promise you, somewhere out there, someone is counting. Someone is watching. Someone will show up. He looked directly at the crowd. Just hold on. Help is coming. The applause started slowly, then built, then became something thunderous. 103 bikers on their feet. A community on their feet. All of them witnessing what one teacher's observation had become. After the ceremony, Ghost found Ms. Torres standing alone. She was looking at a photograph on her phone. Lucas's science fair poster. The one about malnutrition. You changed his life, Ghost said quietly. She shook her head. He changed mine. How so? I've been teaching 28 years, Marcus. 28 years of children. And I thought I knew what paying attention meant. She looked at him. But Lucas taught me that paying attention isn't enough. You have to act. You have to risk being wrong. You have to be willing to make the call even when you're not sure. She wiped her eyes. I almost didn't keep him after class that day. Almost told myself I was overreacting. Almost decided to wait one more week. But you didn't. No, I didn't. Because something in me said today. It has to be today. Good instinct. She smiled through her tears. Good brother. If you hadn't answered your phone. I'll always answer, Becca. You know that. She hugged him. Hard. The way siblings do when words aren't enough. Thank you, she whispered. For showing up. For bringing everyone. For saving those kids. We saved them together. All of us. That's the whole point. The program they'd built, Angels Watch, expanded faster than anyone predicted. First Portland, then Seattle, then San Francisco, then Denver. By the first anniversary, it had chapters in 12 states. The protocol was simple. Community members report suspected child abuse. Local law enforcement investigates. If systems fail, Code Fallen Youth activates. Bikers provide protective presence, witness testimony evidence gathering support. Legal. Documented. Effective. In the first year, Angels Watch responded to 43 cases, 43 children removed from danger, 31 abusers prosecuted, 8 foster care agencies investigated for systemic failures. Ledger's manual financial red flags in foster care was adopted by CPS agencies in 23 states. Scholars' curriculum. Recognizing signs of child abuse became mandatory in teacher training programs across Oregon. Lens's documentary 52 Days hit 4.7 million views and was nominated for a regional Emmy. Doc trained first responders in 3 states on medical assessment of neglected children, and Shepard spoke at conferences across the country, from tragedy to action, building community protection networks, standing room only, every time. 3 years later, Lucas stood at a podium at the National Foster Care Summit in Washington, D.C. He was 11 now, tall for his age, confident. Still wearing the same warm smile that had broken Ms. Torres's heart all those years ago. But his eyes were different. They weren't scared anymore. I'm Lucas Bennett Santos, he said. Some of you might know my story. Most of you probably do. Light laughter from the crowd. But I'm not here to talk about what happened to me. I'm here to talk about what happens next. He clicked to his first slide. In the 3 years since my rescue, Lucas's law has been adopted in 31 states. Angel's Watch has expanded to 47 chapters. Over 200 children have been rescued from abusive foster placements. He paused. Those are good numbers, but they're not good enough. He clicked to the next slide. There are over 400,000 children in foster care in America right now. Statistically, 23% of them will experience some form of abuse or neglect in their placements. That's almost 100,000 kids. His voice hardened. 100,000 kids who are scared right now, who are hungry right now, who are waiting for someone to count. He looked at the crowd. We can't save all of them, but we can save more. If we pay attention, if we fund the right programs, if we actually listen when children tell us they're hurting. He clicked to his final slide. A photograph of a faded blue t-shirt in a frame. This shirt is the reason I'm alive, Lucas said. Because one teacher noticed I wore it for 52 days. Because she documented it. Because she made the call. He stepped out from behind the podium. I'm asking you to be that teacher, to be that neighbor, to be that person who counts when everyone else looks away. His voice rose. Because somewhere right now a child is wearing the same clothes every day. A child is falling asleep in class because they're too hungry to stay awake. A child is hiding bruises under long sleeves and hoping someone will ask. He looked directly at the audience. Be the person who asks. Be the person who counts. Be the person who shows up. He paused. That's how you save a life. The standing ovation lasted 4 minutes. That night, Lucas called Ms. Torres. She answered on the first ring. How did it go? Good, I think. They clapped a lot, she laughed. They should. You were probably the best speaker there. I don't know about that. There was a senator who was pretty good. Did the senator survive 7 months in an attic? No. Then you were better. Lucas smiled. Ms. Torres. Yes, sweetheart. Thank you for everything. For counting. For calling your brother. For staying with me at the hospital. For coming to every hearing and every ceremony and every school event. He paused. You didn't have to do any of that. But you did. Ms. Torres was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Lucas, do you remember what you asked me? That first day when I told you my brother was coming. What did I ask? You asked if they would believe you. You asked if anyone would finally believe you. Yeah, I remember. I promised you they would, and I meant it. But what I didn't tell you was that I was scared too. Scared nobody would listen. Scared the system would fail you again. Scared I was making everything worse. Her voice caught. But I made the call anyway. Because you were 7 years old. Because you were starving. Because you deserved better. She paused. And you've proven every single day since then that you were worth every risk. Worth every fear. Worth every moment of uncertainty. Lucas wiped his eyes. I love you, Miss Torres. I love you too, sweetheart. Always. Ms. Torres still keeps a photograph on her desk. Lucas at his first science fair, standing next to his award-winning project, surrounded by 6 bikers in leather vests, all of them grinning like proud uncles. The caption reads, 52 days. Someone counted. And every morning when she walks into her classroom, she looks at that photograph and remembers. Every child deserves to be counted. Every single one. Ghost still rides past the Santos house every week. Not to check on them. Just to wave. Just to remind Lucas that family doesn't end with blood. Shepard retired from the presidency last year, but he still shows up for every code-fallen youth call. Still stands watch. still refuses to let another child slip through the cracks. Because of Tommy. Because of Lucas. Because of all the children he couldn't save, and all the ones he still can. Ledger teaches financial fraud investigation at Portland State now. His students learn to follow money, to spot patterns, to ask questions nobody else thinks to ask. Doc runs a free clinic for foster children. Medical care, dental work, mental health services. Everything the system fails to provide. Scholar started a tutoring program for kids in foster care. Homework help, reading groups, safe spaces to learn. Lens made 3 more documentaries. All of them about children the system forgot. All of them watched by millions. And Ms. Torres. She's still teaching, still counting days, still watching children, still refusing to look away. 29 years now, and counting. Emma is 9 years old. She's healthy, happy, in 4th grade, best friends with 3 girls who have no idea what she survived. She doesn't talk about the attic anymore, doesn't have nightmares. But sometimes when she hears a door lock, she flinches, just for a moment. And then she remembers she's safe. Noah is 7. He talks now. Full sentences. Complete thoughts. Sometimes he talks so much Maria has to ask him to pause for breath. He started therapy at 4, continued until 6. Dr. Chen says he's made a full recovery, but Noah knows better. You don't fully recover from something like that. You just learn to carry it differently. And Lucas is 11 years old. He's in 6th grade. Honor roll, chess club champion, starting midfielder on his soccer team. He speaks at schools now, tells his story, teaches kids that it's okay to ask for help. He still has the faded blue t-shirt, not framed, not displayed, folded in a drawer where he can touch it whenever he needs to remember. Remember that he survived. Remember that he was seen. Remember that someone counted. Last month, Lucas got a letter from a girl in Ohio, 10 years old. She wrote, "I heard your story at my school. I wear the same clothes every day, too. I didn't know that meant something was wrong. But now I do. I told my teacher yesterday. She believed me. She signed it, 'Thank you for giving me courage.'" Lucas read that letter 7 times. Then he wrote back, "Dear friend, I'm so proud of you. Telling the truth is the hardest thing. But you did it, and now people can help you. I know you're scared. I was scared too. But being scared and telling the truth anyway, that's called being brave. And you're so brave. Whatever happens next, remember this. You matter. Your story matters. And somewhere out there, people are counting for you too. Hold on. Help is coming. Your friend Lucas. He mailed it the next day. Because that's what survivors do. They survive. And then they help others survive too. This story started with a faded blue t-shirt, a teacher who counted, a brother who answered, a brotherhood who showed up. It ends with this. There are Lucases everywhere. In schools, in foster homes, in neighborhoods, in churches. Children disappearing in plain sight, while adults make excuses or look away or convince themselves someone else will handle it. But here's what Lucas taught us. Someone else won't handle it. You have to handle it. You have to count, you have to see, you have to show up, because the difference between Lucas thriving today and Lucas dying in that attic came down to one simple choice. A teacher decided to count. 52 days. That's all it took. So here's the question this story leaves you with. What are you counting? What are you noticing? What child in your orbit needs someone to show up? You don't need a motorcycle. You don't need 100 friends. You don't need permission. You just need to pay attention. Count the days. See the kids. Show up. Because every child deserves to be counted. Every single one. If this story moved you, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below and tell us who was your Ms. Torres, who showed up when nobody else did. Or if you're still waiting for someone to notice, tell us. We're listening. This community is watching. You're not invisible. Not anymore. And remember, heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear leather. Sometimes they carry notebooks. Sometimes they're just ordinary people who refused to look away. Stay gentle. Stay vigilant. Stay ready to show up. Because somewhere right now, a child is counting the days until someone notices. Be that someone. Count to 1. Today.